Lately, I've been thinking a lot about the past. And it's not because I want to go back there. It's because I'm realizing how much of the past is coming with me. I uh I was in the car the other day, this past weekend with my wife, and we were listening to some music, and it was her music, and there was a song that came on that I've heard several times now on her when she's playing music, and I didn't recognize the band. I'm like, who is this? And she told me, and I remembered I knew somebody that liked that band, somebody that I haven't seen in a long time. You know what I mean? And I got to thinking about that person, and suddenly I realized their trauma. Like back when I knew this person, I don't remember seeing this. But as I'm thinking about them, I could see trauma in them. I could see why they acted the way they did and how their personality was I could see trauma in that. You know what I mean? In the type, just the way that they were. I never noticed that before, and which got me thinking a lot about people that's been in my life. You know what I mean? And seeing them differently now. Since I've begun to deal with my own traumas, and I'm seeking inward, and I'm paying attention to myself and why I react the way I do to things, and why certain things upset me or cause cause me to be a certain way or whatever. And as I'm realizing things that have happened in my life that have made me that way, I see it more in others. I see those traumas in other people, and I recognize it. But this was the first time I've thought about somebody that I hadn't seen in a while, and I could suddenly see that in them. I never saw it before, which made me think, something in me was paying attention all along and saw it. I just wasn't paying attention to it, or wasn't aware of it. And now that I have that, I don't know if my heart's more open now. I don't know what it is that I'm just more empathetic toward others, and I see these traumas in people. You know what I mean? I just see behaviors that are similar to behaviors that I had before I dealt with these things. You know what I mean? In other people's, and which makes me more compassionate toward them about the way they are. I mean, I think about people from my past that I didn't necessarily like all that much. You know what I mean? And now to look at back at them, I think, man, they were just dealing with some stuff. It was just their way of navigating this life that we're living. You know what I mean? And I see them so differently now since I've really got to know myself and got to understand why I am the way I am. You know what I mean? And it's definitely made me more empathetic toward other people, and just seeing that in someone that I hadn't seen in a while, and somebody from my past, got me on that loop of thinking of other people. You know what I mean? And just thinking back about that, and it was just, man, I felt a shift or something. It just, something in me was like, I don't know. I was just blown away by the whole feeling that I had. We're talking about a song, this band,
Hmm.
and just suddenly I was like, I got emotional. I'm like tearing up in the car as I'm thinking about this person, and I'm like, how did I never notice that back then? But I didn't notice it in myself back then as I think about it. But I guess that consciousness in me was always paying attention to that. You know what I mean? It was aware of it because I'm not seeing them now. I'm thinking back to old memories,
Hmm.
and starting to realize, why they were the way they were. You know what I mean? And why certain things they would act a certain way too. You know what I mean? Just like I realize in myself, and I've dealt with those things, and I don't necessarily act the same ways all the time that I used to. And yeah, it was just, man, I got stuck on this thought for quite a while. We were heading to Columbus, and again, I got emotional just thinking about people, and I almost kind of felt like disappointment in self, I guess, for not paying attention back then. So many people in my life over the years, like that I work with, that I was friendly with, not because I'm not. I've never really been somebody that's not going to be nice to someone or is rude. I've always been friendly, but it was always some people I kept at a distance. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'll be nice, but this isn't somebody I'm going to hang out with outside of here, and just because of whatever little thing I didn't like. You know what I mean? Or
Mhm.
I don't know, just felt like I was too busy or something. And to look back at those people and see those traumas and being more empathetic now. I wish I would have saw it then. You know what I mean? I would have been so differently with them. And I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Just
Well, I, I guess to get down to the core per se, we have to kind of like start at the beginning of how we all have our traumas, and we all have them in
mhm.
one way or another. So I guess the best way that I can come at this for this first segment is kind of describing how we get and build these traumas and then position our psyche around it to what we think is protecting us, but it's actually imprisoning us.
Mm.
So, to go back to the beginning, is that we are beings that actually exist on the spiritual and mental realms, on the thought, the mind, and the heart. We exist in those two realms. That's where the real us is at. We can't experience the physical realm without a vessel, which is our body. Our body is not us, it's just the car that we're driving.
Mhm.
So, because we have so much vibrational urge and sensations in the physical and the spiritual realms, Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Holy Mother, Holy Father, the three realms. We exist in all three realms: in thought, emotions, and on the physical plane. When we are born, from 0 to 7, we are in an innocent phase. So we take in everything exactly how it is, and it passes through us. So from 0 to 7, we're innocent. We're experiencing life for the first time, at least in the physical realm, because we were never born, never die. But
Mhm.
we've decided to experience what the physical realm is like. So from 0 to 7, reality is real reality, and we experience it as real as it gets. And so in these first 7 years, we see some things. Some kids, are abused. We see our parents get in arguments. We've fallen off of a bike. We've done all these little things. We've been ignored. We've been pressured. So we're starting to get all this. Now, from 7 to 14, now we start either clinging or resisting.
Mm.
So, things that we don't like, we resist. Things that we like a lot, we cling. The problem with this is that when you resist or cling, these sensations no longer can pass through you through your core cleanly.
Mm.
So you're pushing, saying, no, 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 I don't want this. So this negative emotion can't pass through you. And when something good happens, you're like, no, I don't never want to let this go. So that also can't pass through you freely. So now you have these impressions, good and bad, that are now stuck inside of us
Mm.
because we won't allow them to pass through. So by the time you get 14, these impressions, good and bad, are now starting to shape your personality. And so you still don't know how to deal with them because you're still going through puberty and a lot of body changes and stuff like that. So you hire an employee, psyche, and you tell
Yeah.
the psyche this. You give it an impossible task. You say, I want everybody to like me. I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want nobody to dislike me. I don't want to make nobody mad. I want to make sure I do everything right. I want to say the right things. And I need you to be on this 24/7.
Yeah.
And the psyche says, got it, boss. So it starts talking and talking. It starts shaping reality. You hear the voice is activated when you get into puberty, and now it's telling you like, don't do this, don't that, don't do that, don't do it like this, don't do it like this, and it's all based on these impressions that we're either resisting or clinging. So now, instead of seeing real reality like we did when we were first born in our stage of innocence, now we're seeing reality through the voice. The voice is narrating. We don't like that. Stay away from that. Don't get on that bike again. This girl broke your heart. All women are bees. This boy broke your heart. All men are dogs. The voice starts talking. It's narrating. So now you no longer are getting real reality. You're getting the psyche has built an illusional world in your head, and so it's taking real reality and flipping it to what it wants you to know because you've given it an assignment. I don't want to be hurt. So you're saying protect me when actually now you're prison. You're in prison because you can't feel reality for what it really is. You have a buffer now. And this buffer, when you said, like you said, people with traumas, especially deep traumas or whatever, it really, the voice is loud because the voice activates on emotions, on emotional pressure. When you have an emotional high, whether it's like sexual or whether it's fear or whatever, that's when the voice gets louder and it starts talking to you. And now that's where we have been talking about the illusion of reality, is that you're not seeing real reality. You're hearing the voice narrate reality. You've given the psyche permission to go before you and be the buffer, but the buffer is activated on all of these. That's why Jesus says, resist not evil. Let reality pass through you. Do not cling. And that's what that means. And that's I think that's a good basis to start, is where these traumas even come from and why they stay with us.
Yeah. When we were in the car driving, we were going to Columbus to have dinner with my son and his boyfriend, and we got into a conversation about our oldest memory, like far back as we could remember, which is interesting that you were talking about 0 to 7. And the farthest back I can remember, my own personal story, I won't share everybody else's story, but because we ended up having this conversation not only with those two, with my another son when we got home and his girlfriend, and then my other two sons and my dad the next day. We talked about this all week just because we had such great conversations and everybody was so in it. Nobody was in their phones. We were just, just sharing, you know what I mean? And everybody was engaged. And
Probably
it was just
great therapy too.
Man, it was amazing. It was amazing. I had an incredible weekend, and this has been on my mind nonstop. This is why we're talking about this today, just because of this amazing weekend that I had. But we were talking about that oldest memory, and for me, it was, I can remember when I was a little kid, my dad worked at a meat packing plant in Piqua, Deckers, and they shut down. This was right before Christmas, and my dad had an 8th grade education, dropped out of school. Mom, I think 9th grade, and now he's got these 3 kids at home. One's 1, I was 4, and my older sister was 5, and he's lost his job. It's almost Christmas, and I remember this Christmas more so than any other Christmas growing up. Like, even when I was much older, I don't remember them as well, but I remember what I got that year, because I remember it came from Salvation Army. They got us food and gifts, and Dad ended up finding work. He was doing whatever he could. He was doing part-time, and he was shoveling walks and just whatever he could do to make money. And to add to that, I can imagine him dealing with that and having
Pressure.
oh my God, and having an 8th grade education, and it had to be terrifying. But anyway, I remember that because it had such an emotional impact on me, and it changed the lens I see the world through. I can remember growing up the rest of my life, they would ask me what I want for my birthday or Christmas, and I would say, I don't care, whatever. I wouldn't ask for anything, because that made me believe that money was hard for them to get, and I didn't want them to struggle. I didn't want to see that stress in my parents ever again. I was 4. I remember that Christmas more than I do when I was 14. I can't remember anything I got at 14, but I remember that. I got an Ernie doll. I got a wagon with cowboys and Indians. And I've often told people that that was one of my favorite gifts I've ever gotten, and it was because of the joy that my parents had in giving me something, even though they didn't know how they were going to that year. And shout out to Salvation Army for doing that for kids. My wife and I shouldn't share this, but we adopt kids every year for Salvation Army, and I just feel like I need to do that because it was done for me, and I know what that meant for my family. And as we talked to my son and his boyfriend in Columbus, same thing. It was some major event that happened that they it was either something really good or something really traumatic that happened in their lives that was their earliest memory. It's those things that just change you and change the way you see the world, the lens that you see the world through. And as I, have these conversations with him, it was amazing, man. It was such a good weekend. I know I said that, but I still, I don't recall that much connection with family when we sat together for dinner, just everybody engaged and just sharing, and nobody looked at their phones, and it was beautiful, man. And it with that and the thoughts that I had on the way there about people that were in my life, and just trying to see the world through other people's eyes, you know what I mean? And we don't do that. We all have our own way of seeing the world, and we're watching. We actually finished it. We watched this show. I think it was on Apple Plus. It's called The After Party. There was a murder, so everybody was telling their story of what they saw at this party. Everybody saw this party completely different. I mean, down to some people saw this guy with a water in his hand, and other people had no clue he had a water. Just seeing the differences that they saw was. I mean, the show was okay. It wasn't great, but I really digged how they did that, how they showed the same story from all these different views. It was really cool, and it got me thinking about that kind of thing, and it got me thinking about how my dad went through that and how traumatic it was for me that it stuck with me so long. I can't imagine how he dealt with that, and my mom too, trying to raise these three kids, not knowing what's happened next. You know what I mean? And man, it made me appreciate my parents more. And as I'm talking to my dad about these stories, I was thanking him for all that he did and going through that and not giving up. You know what I mean? It just as I think back to people in my life, I wish I would have had this awareness then to see those kind of things in people, and it's just made me see people in a different way, and my heart's more open to others. And people aren't going to do things that you like all the time, but man, there's probably a reason for it. I've talked about with friends, other people, I don't know if we've talked about it or not. I can't imagine ever doing heroin or fentanyl. There's people dying doing this every day. I also can't imagine the steps they took to get to that, to make the decision where your life doesn't matter enough to even worry about what could possibly happen when you do this drug. I mean, at one time you could die from these drugs, and people are doing it. What did they go through that led them to that? Because there's no way I could imagine doing that. But people are doing it. They're doing it every day. I mean, more and more every day die from this, and they keep bringing a drug. I mean, why would you bring a drug that's going to kill everybody that you sell it to? Because there's going to be more people. There's going to be more people buying it, and I don't know what they went through that led them to that. And that's true about everything. Somebody's rude, or I don't know, says something that upsets you. I don't know what made them set them off that day to make them act like that, but having this realization about those in my past, about why I am the way I am, I can be understanding about it. I can let those things go and be like, okay, I don't know why he's acting like this or she's acting like this, but I understand that I've probably been an asshole before. You know what I mean? I've definitely been rude to people, didn't need to be. I definitely didn't give people a chance sometimes. You know what I mean? I hope that I do better. I know that I do better than I used to, but I mean, I hope that I'm giving everybody a fair chance. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's just, oh man, you're a teacher. You're really good at all this knowledge that you've gotten and explaining it. And And I'm in the middle of this journey and this experience, and my part of this, I feel like, is sharing these. You know what I mean? I don't have that depth of knowledge that you have in this, but man, I'm changing, and it's amazing, and I just want to share it. So that's how we got here. That's how this
Right.
topic came to be today, and why we're on this subject. And I I just love more. You know what I mean? And I can love even if what's in front of me isn't loving me back. You know what I mean? Because I can understand that, man, hard life can make you do a lot of things. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Who am I to judge? Uh, in Matthew 7:4, Jesus says something about worried about the speck in your friend's eye, and not worried about the plank in your own eye. So it's something about deal with the plank in your eye, and then you'll see clearly.
Right. To
And
remove the
that's what
beam
I've
out of your
done.
friend's eye.
Yeah, the
Hmm.
speck in your friend's eye, or whatever it is, or
Hmm.
splinter. I don't know, depending on the translation of the Bible. But I feel like that's relevant to what I'm saying now that I have dealt with my own stuff, and I see more clearly. Man, I see that, man, we're all just figuring it out, and especially when you're young. You know,
Oh yeah.
all these things happen to you, and it you somehow try to create meaning out of this, and you're too young to even have understanding of what's happening. But like I said, with my parents, it made me, they would ask me what I want for Christmas and my birthdays, and it was always, oh, I don't care, whatever. I didn't ask for anything. Even when they started making decent money, I was still, I don't care. I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Just because that stuck with me, and it affected me. And that's true for everybody. And we got to pay attention, and know that, man, that they're not necessarily evil people.
No.
They've had a tough road. You know what I mean?
There's three things that you said that triggered three thoughts for me. The first thing is that you have to realize is that it takes one traumatic event to change your whole paradigm. And what you have to think of emotional events as like glue. When you having a high intense emotional event, it bypasses everything and goes straight into the subconscious mind, and it sticks to you like glue. Now, you have two things. You have memory, and you have um, um, impressions. You have memories and you have impressions. The way you can tell the difference is when you have a memory, then that's just something that didn't necessarily have an emotional impact, and it's there, and you can recall it whenever you choose to. When you have an impression, something high emotional intensity, and it goes straight to the subconscious mind, the psyche will then use it to manipulate you. So you will be riding down the street, and then all of a sudden, randomly, a thought will pop into your head about some spider that bit you, and they'll relate to this and relate to that and relate to that because it's an impression. When you have an impression, they pop up whenever, anytime, any place that the psyche wants to bring it up, it'll bring it up. So when you have a traumatic event, it'll constantly feed you that to make you scared of real reality. That's the first thing. The second thing is, have you ever heard of the Rorschach test?
Yeah.
Okay, so the Rorschach test, you show people these ink blots on a white piece of paper, and they tell you what they see. Oh, I see a cloud, I see a bunny, I see a car, I see two hearts, blah, blah, blah. We are all living in a Rorschach test, because reality is it's an ink blot on a piece of white paper, but you've made it into a cloud, or it's not that. It's an ink blot. That's real reality is this, but you're seeing it through the lens of your preferences that the psyche is telling you. You're running it through these impressions that are stuck in you, that the psyche keeps bringing up and filtering this fake reality to you. So we do this every day with everything. Everything we see, everything we experience, we are living a Rorschach test. The reality is this, but we're filtering it through all of this nonsense and this mess and creating an illusion. Like,
Yeah.
man, they don't like me. Man, forget them, blah, blah, blah. They don't even know you.
Right.
Man, he
Right.
cut me off, blah, blah, blah. Man, that's some bull crap. Maybe their son just got in an accident. They're trying to get to the hospital.
Yeah.
You're creating this Rorschach test every day, all the time. It's not real. Real reality is if you surrender, real reality will go through you and you will see it for exactly what it is. Now, the third thing, and then take it on, is that when you centralize consciousness, you only see what is in front of you. You don't see the whole totality of everything. You can be mad at somebody because they said something that just caught your consciousness. You brought it to this. They pissed me off. So now you're just focused on this. But you're not focusing on the kid that just fell. You're not focusing on the meteorite that just hit Mars. You're not focusing on the kids dying in Africa, the 10,000 people dying. None of that matters. You're just focusing on this one thing. So you don't even see the totality of reality. You just see what has caught consciousness. Consciousness is like a little child. It's like squirrel. Oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? Oh, yeah, what's this? And then when you bring consciousness to a point, you lose track of everything else. And that's where we like lose track of of what's really going on in people's lives. And we lose empathy on it because the psyche is saying, no, we worried about us. We're going to deal with us. And so that's what's happening in reality. And you've made some very, very good points. And you've said some very, very good things. And, that's understanding those things, and you have a clear lens. Now we can all start to work on ourselves and say, am I seeing reality? Am I experiencing reality? Or am I in a Rorschach test?
Right. Right. Yeah. Well put. I was so struck by that, looking back at just randomly thinking about this person because of a band, and seeing that, and just vividly seeing it. Something in me always had to see that. My consciousness knew it then, but I didn't pay attention to it, like you're saying there. And maybe awakening is not about learning something new or finding out something new. It's about quieting yourself enough to see what's always been there. You know what I mean? And having an open heart and being empathetic and just loving others and being understanding, because we all mess up, man. We all have been rude. We all have cut off other drivers. I mean, I've done stuff that I've definitely regretted that I wish I could change, but that's true for everyone. You know what I mean? And just we need to love first and foremost, and understand that we don't know what people have been through, why they are the way they are, but we know that we've been through stuff and it's affected who we are. So realize that about them, and start overlooking some of those things that you don't like. Start being a little less picky about everybody else and the way they are, and life gets a little bit easier, man. I am so much happier than I've ever been, and it's because I just love everybody. Yeah, I think that's a good place to end it right there, man. So we're 1 degree. Our mission is to change the consciousness of mankind 1 degree, so everybody can live together in peace, love, harmony, and unity. For my brother Akashic, I am Reedy. Until next time, 1 degree.